alt season. It's what everyone has been potentially waiting for this entire cycle. And according to the 4-year cycle, we should have just potentially went through a bullish time period and an alt season, but we didn't really get that in the course of 2025. So in this video, I'm going to go over, is the alt season narrative dead? Will we ever have a real alt season again? What catalysts do we need to see to potentially spark an altcoin run? And on top of that, what is restricting altcoins over the course of 2025? So we're just going to go over in depth everything affecting the altcoin scene, why we haven't seen a run, and what is going to be something that can put altcoins over the hump and actually hit an alt season. Without further ado, let's jump into it. Before we get started, as always, guys, be sure to drop down below. If you enjoy the content here on In the Game across crypto, prediction markets, and more, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps us a ton get in front of new viewers, crypto bulls, and enthusiasts just like yourself. And of course, a big shout out to our sponsors here on In the Game. And today I have to give a massive shout out to our prediction markets partners here on the channel, which is 𝗪𝗓. 𝗪𝗓 is making a major move into crypto. You can now literally trade prediction markets within the Phantom app, and there are rumblings that Coinbase financial markets, aka Coinbase prediction markets, are going to be powered by 𝗪𝗓. So if you haven't already jumped into the prediction market scene, we have a link down below. If you deposit and trade $10, 𝗪𝗓 will give you a free $10. I think this is the revolution of the future, coming with just trading everything. You can trade markets, you can trade culture, entertainment, music, movies. Check out 𝗪𝗓 down below. I guarantee you'll find something that scratches your itch in the prediction market scene. Let's go ahead and just jump right into it, guys. And I mean, the market has been very volatile this week. Bitcoin over the 30 days, obviously still getting hammered. It's down 10% during that time period. But, in the mornings, we've been seeing a lot of manipulation. It's really odd. 10 a.m., it's happened multiple times this week. Right when the U.S. market opens, we just absolutely dump. It erased 16 hours of gain in 20 minutes. That was yesterday. And then today, Bitcoin dropped $2,000 in 35 minutes, wiped out $40 billion from its market cap, and it liquidated a ton of longs. $132 million worth of longs were liquidated this morning. And I thought that this tweet was pretty fitting. A tip for crypto traders: before analyzing the market, simply ask yourself, did I crack a smile today? And if so, the market's going to go down. That's basically the pain that we've been going through in the crypto scene for quite some time. And obviously, Bitcoin's one thing. But a lot of people on YouTube, myself included, I'm very much allocated into specific altcoins. So in my opinion, most people, we want to see Bitcoin thrive, but the majority of crypto investors don't have the portfolio size to get involved with Bitcoin at a level that it's going to completely be the one coin that changes their life in the future, right? At 90K, it's not the most accessible for most people. However, we do lean into altcoins, myself included, right? So we've been waiting on a alt season, and that never came in 2025. In this video, I just want to go over, why did we not see altcoins have any sort of a resemblance of 2021 or even 2023 in December, or 2024 last year? Altcoins were moving during those time periods, but 2025 felt like the most suppressed year that we have ever seen for altcoins. We just look at some of the price action here. I mean, we can go back on I just want to pull up an example. Avalanche had a great year from a development standpoint, but if we look at the yearly chart, you can see, I mean, it's crazy, but we're lower than we were a year ago. On something like AVAX, it's down 25% over the course of the year. If we look at something like, I don't know, Chainlink, let's just go look. I haven't, pulled up these charts before. Chainlink's 50% down from last year, right? So prices are literally almost chopped in half, or down 25% from their prices last year, when people really thought that, this year should have been the peak, the epitome of the 4-year cycle. So what is going on in the market? I just want to go over a few things. First and foremost, the cycle was disrupted this time around. Obviously, we had a government shutdown. We've never seen that before. We were still going through quantitative tightening, and we weren't seeing those interest rate cuts until these last couple of months. but we didn't see progression in the crypto space during that time period because the government shut down. So we didn't see any new ETF approvals or, strategic reserve talks. All of that was on hold basically during the timeline that we should have seen the 4-year cycle peak. Number two, is the 4-year cycle even relevant anymore? I think that we have to think of it that it's not. And, Raoul Pal says Altseason is coming in 2026. And look, I really don't think, what I'll say here is we are starting to see rate cuts. The printer might come on. We see potential, stimulus checks, $2,000 stimulus checks maybe going out in the year of 2026. They're calling it the Trump stimulus potentially. And that could really do well for the market. When the printer turns on, that's when things, people lean into the risk on assets. We start having a little more disposable cash to get involved with Bitcoin, altcoins, whatever the case is. But moving the goalposts on the 4-year cycle, I actually don't think that you can fault people for thinking that. This year, crypto is now more controlled by entities and governments and banks than ever before. JP Morgan, BlackRock, Citibank, Bank of America, all these different entities have invested tons of capital, and on top of that are leaning into crypto. But this just only means that they're more in control of the market. So we're not going to see altcoins, there are going to be winners. We saw Trump coin in 2025. We saw Aster in 2025, Fartcoin. A lot of things went well for certain altcoins. Hyperliquid almost got to $60. But for the most part, you can look across the board. Altcoins just don't perform like they used to, which really takes the fun out of crypto. And then during these time periods, they're actually getting hit harder than anything. I mean, you can look at something like Aether down 52% this month. Sonic is down 37% this month. Floki's down 21%. 𝗪𝗏𝗧𝗏 is down 37% this month. I mean, altcoins have been the glutton for pain for quite some time. And, with the fear and greed index also at 29, I don't know, I would love to tell you that Altseason it's just, we're waiting for it. But in my honest, humble opinion, I think that we're never going to see a 2021 Altseason ever again. And if we do, I'll be gladly surprised. But I think the game has just changed, okay? On top of that, think of how many tokens have flooded the market. How much VC money is in these coins. Look at all the chains in crypto right now. This is just on DeFi Llama. Just chains. 485 blockchains out there, okay? On top of that, we're seeing these new ICOs, flashy tokens like Monad, which, by the way, anyone who followed my video whenever we said that Monad's a long-term short, that thesis is playing out very nicely. We can go look at the Monad price right now, actually, and see. Let me find Monad. This has played out very nicely for anyone who has been in a short. So this is down 16% over the 30-day time period. And I don't know, these VC vaporware products that nobody's going to use long term suck up so much money into the space. And, Coinbase is doing these ICOs. They're planning on hosting one a month. It's so diluted. There's new altcoins every single day, every week. The meme coin cycle last year threw off Altseason completely because people were chasing short-term dopamine, quick gains on 100x on BullX or whatever trading platform they were using over, sticking. That really affected Altseason because people were putting money in these, ridiculous meme coins instead of that liquidity going into altcoins when Bitcoin was running. Bitcoin was running very hard at the end of last year, but meme coins stole the show. So for me, will altcoins have a run again? Absolutely. I don't think that that's going to be the issue. I think that the days of the Wild West, like we used to call crypto, I think that's over. I really do. I think that 2021 time period, that bull run is unique in itself, just like 2017 was unique, okay? They're not all going to play out the exact same way. And look, I think, like I said, I think altcoins are going to be just fine, but we're not going to see that euphoria of when you wake up and everything doubles overnight. You know what I mean? 2021 was a different time period. You could wake up, you could invest in something at midnight, wake up at 8 a.m. and it's up 80% because everything was just rocketing during that time period. I don't think we're going to see that. What I do think, though, is if you concentrate on revenue generating altcoins that are in the narrative, in the right niches this cycle, I think you're going to win. Stuff like Solana, I think still has a great long-term future. I think stuff like Hyperliquid, the biggest revenue driver in the space, easily is going to have a killer future. We have 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. We see, OpenAI investing $1 billion in Disney. AI is not going anywhere. So having a piece of the biggest AI token is definitely going to be a winner. Aster, another revenue generating perps DEX that's doing buybacks. They're buying back their own token in a cycle. So to me, those are the types of coins you need to be focusing on. But I think now is the time to hold less altcoins. We don't need to, overcomplicate it anymore. I know this is it's more of a conceptual, rant at this point. But in my opinion, I think, if you hold 10 altcoins at this point, that's a lot. And especially with how diluted the sector is, it's really hard for 10 things to catch fire right now, and especially to hold all 10 of the right tokens. So for me, it's the time period to really trim up your conviction. I mean, there's probably only 15, 20 altcoins in the entire market that you should even feel confident holding at all, let alone, investing in all of them. I think that that's not a good play. So for me, I'm just really focused on a few tokens right now. And when the market does give us those flashes of an alt season, then boom, we can start getting a little more risk on. We can get into the trenches. We can buy new tokens. We can put in short-term trades. But until then, you really need to stack your bags into your favorite projects and just wait for that switch, that trigger. Because yes, the pump just came on. Whenever Powell was speaking earlier this week, the rhetoric was very bullish, okay? But that does not mean spread your money into 50 altcoins and let's run it up 2021 time. It's not happening, okay? So that's what I'm doing in this market. I've just completely stuck my money into these high-level plays, stuff like Hyperliquid, because I believe in that long term. I don't feel any sort of flight risk that Hyperliquid's going to go anywhere, okay? So it's one of those things. And having been burnt in gaming and all these different, projects that have came and gone over the course of time, I want to bet on the winners, and I'm going to make that very simple in my portfolio, which, by the way, we are going to do a portfolio update next week before Christmas heading into 2026, and I think that's going to be a very, very valuable video for those of you who want to see, okay, Hustle, you're saying you've trimmed down your altcoins quite significantly. How significantly? I think that it's going to be a very eye-opening video. And just to show you, let me pull up a spreadsheet from our previous portfolios, just so you can see, heading into, last year, this 365 days ago, I was spread out into a ton of alts because at the back half of last year, altcoins were actually still performing quite nicely. And then we trimmed down the portfolio pretty substantially. Then we trimmed it down even more. And I think this next update is going to be very drastically shrunk. It's really hard to hold this many positions in a market like this. And it's not as rewarding as it once was when people used to say, we used to come through and say time in the market beats timing the market. I think that maybe with Bitcoin, that's still valid. But with altcoins, I don't think time in the market is rewarding anybody. It's really been decimating for those who are just holding alts endlessly. And that's been me included, right? So, I think that the psychology behind that is incorrect. Time in the market does win when you're talking about the main asset, Bitcoin. But I think time in the market on altcoins, it can cook you in the short term. And you really got to pick the right ones for them to come back in the long term. I mean, even Avalanche, it's a pillow right behind me. It's down 25% since last year. Chainlink, it powers everything in crypto. Chainlink is integrated into almost every product out there. And guess what? It's down 50% over the last 365 days. So gone are the days of time in the market beats timing the market when it comes to altcoins. And I miss the fun days where, we could hold all these different coins and things are just popping off, but it's just not the market that we're in right now. I'm still super convicted that we will see big altcoin runs in the future, but I think we have to bury the idea of a traditional alt season. I just don't think that that's going to happen. And I'm happy to be proven wrong because that means my bags are going to do well, okay? But definitely gone are the days that you can invest in a token and just spray and pray. You have to be really convinced, really convicted, and really just, you know, hold steady on a couple of projects and be ready for the run up when that time comes. So that's my thesis and a little bit of a rant about where altcoins are right now, why we haven't seen a pump. You know, stuff like the government shutdown. Meme coins really cooked the volume last year in December through January when Bitcoin was rocketing after Trump got elected. You know, meme coins really stole the liquidity, the volume, and the show at that point in time. So it kind of held back altcoins in a general perspective. But moving forward, we have quantitative easing, we have money printing, we have potential stimulus check going out. So those are the types of things throughout the course of 2026 that can get us back on track for an altcoin run. So guys, like the video down below and subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts. Will we ever see an alt season again like 2021? Is it going to be maybe more like 2023? I think that things are much different now. The banks, the entities, as the quote unquote suits, control Bitcoin to a level where who knows? And there's so many coins in the market now, it's really hard to have concentrated pumps consistently on certain altcoins. So guys, let me know your thoughts on alt season and the future of crypto down below in the description, and we will see you guys on Monday. As always, like the video, subscribe, and play well, my friends. Trade responsibly and stay bullish, my friends.